So I'm trying to put a light switch in here, well, light bulb, so I can actually see in here when it's dark. I'm gonna put a motion sensor light up there, so I gotta run the wires. But in order to run the wires, I'm gonna put a switch here to turn it off, and I'm gonna run it from right here. But in order to put that box in there, I know that it's my power source. Don't be touching it. So I'm gonna have to put a box on the other side. So I decided to use this, and I'm gonna poke to the other side, because I want to make sure that when I put the box on the other side, it is definitely next to and not on top of, therefore messing up. So that means this is where I'm gonna have my box at. So then I brought my blue box and marked where I want the box to go on the wall, and then I used my trusted knife to cut the hole out onto the drywall. It took some time, as you can see, because it's a homemade knife. I need to invest in my drywall knife, but this is due for now because I don't do that much cutting anyhow. But once I cut the hole out, I pulled it out, and then once I pulled the drywall out, I marked the ceiling where I wanted the light fixture to go above my ceiling. And then I used my trusted knife once more and again to cut the hole out in the ceiling. Of course, you can see I used a plastic bag to make sure that I catch all the plaster so they wouldn't fall on my head. After that, then I ran the wire from where I cut the hole in the ceiling down to the where I want the light switch to go through. So it went very smoothly. So the 14-3 wire there. And then I went to Lowe's and bought me this old working box. As you can see, it's very easy to attach to the drywall. Basically, you can use your drill or a screwdriver and just tighten it in, and it fits snug to your drywall. And then I ran through the wall my 14-3 wire in there, of course, as you can see. And then I had to line up just to make sure that so when I put my light fixture on there, it's going to fit just exactly which direction I want it to. So of course I used my drill to tighten it up. And once I was satisfied with what it looked like, then I decided to use a pair of scissors to cut some of the wires, strip some of the wire out, and then prepare it for connection. So what I did was I used some wire cutters to strip out the wire so that I could prepare for the connections. I also bought Lithonia lighting from Lowe's, which was $30. I like the price tag, and it's a motion sensor light, which I wanted to make sure that it was something I didn't have to worry about turning on and off from a light switch. So it's motion censored, and it was very easy to put up onto the ceiling. And of course I did the connections. I started with the ground wire. Then after I finished with the ground wire, I connected the neutral, and once I finished with the neutral, I connected the hot wire, which are the blacks. And then to make sure I'm on the safe side, I decided to tape all my wires up just to make sure that they never come apart and they wouldn't cause any fire whatsoever in the near future or any future whatsoever. Once I was done with connecting with the wires, I then screwed in the light fixture using the provided bolts, and then put the cover on. And then the next thing I want to do was to run the power from the original box, which is outside. So this is where the power source is going to be coming from. So I decided to run a short little wire that is going to be running all the power to my new box. And so the right wire is going to be carrying the power, and then left wire is going to be the one that's going to be carrying the power from the box to the light at the ceiling. So I decided to start and of course I decided to use a pair of scissors. I don't know why, but I stripped my wires up, cut them all up, and then used a wire cutter and strip them all up. And then I started connecting all my wires up. The red wire was by itself, and I connected all the ground wires together, like as you can see. And then once I finished with that, I put a pigtail on all my wires after I stripped them up, and I started connecting to the switch. So I started with the ground wire, and then the power that's going to be carrying, that's going to be bringing in the power from the other box, and then the power that's going to be going to the light. And once I was done with that, I decided to use some electric tape just to make sure there's not going to be any issues whatsoever as far as starting the fires whatsoever. in the future or anything else. And then I use my trusted little screwdriver that I got, which comes very handy, makes things so much faster. But this one, it was stripped, the top one, that's why I had to use my drill. And then once I connected all my wires in this boxes here, it was time to connect the power from the outside. So I stripped this little short wire out, and then once I stripped the short wire out, I prepared it. I stripped the little corners out, and then after I was done with that, it was time to go turn the power off. So like I said, I found which circuit carried the power, turned that off, and then did my connections with the grounds to the grounds. And of course here I got the neutral to the neutral, then the blacks, the hot to the hot, and then once I was done connecting all these wires, I put the covers back on, and then once I put the covers back on, I had to cut the little excess wires off. And then once I finished with that, I put the covers back on, and then once I put the covers back on, I taped it all up just to make sure that there were not going to be any mistakes whatsoever. Now listen, just a disclaimer, I'm not an electrician, so if you want to play with electricity, it's up to you. But if I were you, I'd hire a light-sensitive electrician. Once I was done with my connections and I was satisfied, I put the light switch back on and put the faceplate back on. Now it's time to go back down and turn the power switch back on. So we put the circuit breaker back on, ran upstairs and made sure the power was still in the living room. And we opened the closet, and voila! It is a final product, ladies and gentlemen. I was very pleased. I am very pleased with the work that I did here. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, the work was done. I tested out the motion just to make sure it worked. It was beautiful. Anyways, thank you for watching. God bless, and please don't forget to subscribe and like.